Hello students, my name is Sushma. I am a professor from the Department of MBA at Cambridge Institute of Technology. Today we are going to discuss about the Factories Act of 1948, which comes under Employee Welfare of the subject Human Resource Management for second semester MBA students. In our previous session, we had discussed about employee welfare, that is the labor welfare, and various agencies that work for employee welfare. The central government is one of the agencies out of various agencies. Central government is one of the agencies which work for employee welfare. And the central government, it tries to help workers through various acts covering the safety, or it could be the health or even the welfare of the workers. So among various acts that has been passed by the central government, one such act that we are going to discuss today is the Factories Act of 1948. Let us understand what are the various provisions under this act for the welfare of the laborers, and also we are going to understand what are the benefits that a worker gets as per the regulations of the Factories Act of 1948. So this act lays emphasis on employee welfare. So let us now understand the objectives of this act. The main objective of this act is to secure the health, safety, welfare of the workers, and also that this act will define the working hours. That is, it prescribes the working hour for any worker in the factory. So if at all the owner of the factory is trying to exploit the worker, that cannot happen, because the Factories Act specifies, or rather defines, the working hour for each and every worker in an organization. And this act also provides a lot of benefits with the workers, which we are going to look into a little later in today's session. Apart from that, we must also understand that when a worker works in a factory, he's been exposed to a lot of risk. So he's prone to a lot of risk at workplace. So this particular act gives a lot of emphasis on, precautions that has to be taken by the owner of the factory for the safety of the workers, so he can prevent any kind of accidents that happens at a factory or a workplace. So when we talk about the factory, let us understand how this particular aspect of factory has been defined in this Act of 1948. As per this act, a factory is supposed to be a premises which includes the precincts in any part of which manufacturing process is carried on with or without the aid of power. So when we talk about the premises here, we refer to an open land. It could either be an open land, or it could be a building or a open land itself. It is referred to as premises. And when we talk about precinct, it is the unused space which is there in the in the factory vicinity, or it could be the empty space which has not been occupied, provided this space is enclosed within the boundaries of that particular factory or the premises. Whether the land has been occupied by the building, or if it's an open land, it is referred to as premises. And also the empty space which is there within the enclosed wall or boundary of this particular premises is also called, which is called as the precinct, is also a part of factory, provided any manufacturing activity should be taken place in this particular premises. When we say the manufacturing process, it could be carried out with or without the help of power. When we say power, we are talking about the electricity supply. So it says that this particular Factories Act, it defines that factory is a premises wherein the manufacturing process has been taken place with the help of or without the help of the electricity supply, provided that it says if the number of employees are 10, minimum number of employees are 10, and they take the aid of power, then it is said to be a factory. or without the help of the electricity if the manufacturing process is taking place, but here provided the number of employees are minimum 20 in number, then it is said to be a factory. And another thing that you need to consider here is, it says that if such activity takes place at least on any one day of the preceding 12 months, that is within the span of 12 months, even on if one single day, if this activity including either 10 or 20 workers takes place, it is referred to as, the premises is referred to as a factory. This is how the Factories Act of 1948 defines the term factory as. And when we talk about manufacturing process, it could be various things, like say not necessary it has to be some kind of process has to take place or something like that. When we say manufacturing, it could be as simple as a place for preserving or storing things. It is also called as factory. I'll tell you how. In case a person, for an example, a person goes around collecting say ghee from a lot of people, and he is involved only in packing and selling this particular product, is still said to be a factory, because commercially this product which has been packed can be sold. So this is referred to as the manufacturing process or a factory. Or say for example, there is a wooden plank, and out of this wooden plank a beautiful box has been made, and in this place is also that is the wooden plank is converted into a product which can be utilized. Then even then it is called as a manufacturing process, because this particular product, the end product, can be commercially marketable. Apart from this, let us understand what are the preventive measures that has been considered under this particular act. The first aspect in this particular act is cleanliness. That is, this act clearly specifies that the factory should be kept clean and free from effluvium. Effluvium is the unpleasant or harmful odor that we get. The place should be clean from any of these the bad or the unpleasant odor. Apart from that, it also says that when it comes to waste, there must be an arrangement for a proper disposal of the waste that has been produced within the factory premises, and this waste has to be treated in a proper manner. That is another thing that the owner of the factory must consider. And talking about the ventilation and temperature, it very clearly says that the workroom in a factory, it should be provided with proper natural ventilation, and there should be good circulation of fresh air is what it says. And it also says that they have to keep the temperature really low. In order to do this, the factory wall and the roof should be designed, or the materials to construct the walls of the walls or the roofs of the factory should be such that it should help in keeping the temperature really low. Or in case if high temperature may be produced in that particular factory, then controlled measures has to be taken as to a proper whitewashing has to be done periodically, or they must be trying to do some kind of go ahead with installation of the factory premises by screening the outside wall or windows and roofs and all that, in order to maintain a temperature which does not suffocate the employees or the workers to work in the factory. And when we talk about the dust and fumes, it says that proper exhaust appliances should be provided in the area where dust and fumes are kind of generated. And it also talks about artificial humidification. Say for an example, in a cotton textile or a cigarette manufacturing unit, what happens is they require a lot of artificial humidification, that is the humidity level has to be maintained. So in such cases, to induce such kind of humidity, water is being used within the premises. So it says that when you use the water, make sure you use a properly purified water is what this particular act says. And this act also the Factories Act also specifies that the factory should not be overcrowded. One should avoid overcrowding in the factory, and it says that proper cubicle, that is a spacious cubicle, has to be provided for all the workmen in the workplace or in the factory. And it also says that adequate lighting, drinking water, toilets and spittoons should be provided. That is, when we talk about lighting, it says that sufficient light should be there in the factory, be it natural light or the artificial glazed lights, or the skylight window should be incorporated in the factory, so that enough lighting is provided for the workers. And also it says that ensure that you try to prevent the glares or the formation of shadow on the work spot. So such things has to be really considered when it comes to the lighting facility in the factory. And it also says that drinking water should be provided, sufficient drinking water should be provided for the workers at the workplace. And it says that minimum of 6-meter distance should be the place where the drinking water facility is provided. It should be at least 6 meters away from the urinals, or it could be the toilet, or open drains. Try to keep the water facility 6 meters away from all of these. And it also says that there should be adequate latrines or urinals to be provided at the workplace. It should be separately provided for both male and female workers. And it also says that it's very important to keep the place cleanly all the time. And there also there should be adequate light and ventilation at the washroom or the restroom facilities that has been provided for the workers. When we talk about spittoons, we're talking about the facilities where the employees can actually spit. So for this also it should be placed at a convenient place for the workers, and it should be kept clean and in a hygiene condition. Apart from this, the Act also comes up with a lot of facilities and conveniences for the workers. That is, since the workers work in the factory wherein lot of manual work has been done, so there'll be a lot of dust and pollution, and which is why they should be provided with a place where they can shower, so that proper washing facility has to be provided separately for both male and female workers. And it also says that there should be enough facility to store and dry their clothes. That facility should also be provided by the owners of the factory. And then since these workers work in the manufacturing plant, lot of work, these kind of factories will demand the workers to work in a standing position for a very long period of time, because of which they'll be really strained. So some kind of facilities should be provided so that these workers can go and rest for a few minutes and get back, because like I told you, they'll be working in standing position for quite a long time. They need short breaks in between the work throughout the day. So there should be a proper facility wherein they can go and rest. And it also says that like I told you in the beginning, the workers are going to be kind of exposed to a lot of accidents or a lot of risk. In such cases, if there might be minor accidents for which the factory should have the first aid box facility within the premises. In case the number of that is for every 150 workers, the first aid box should be there in the factory, which is mandatory. And in case the number of workers exceed 500, then ambulance facility should be there. What happens sometimes when these workers work at the factories, maybe because of standing for long hours or overstraining or something, they might accidentally lose their hand or fingers, they may hurt, or something like this may happen. A lot of accidents will happen because it's going to be the factory that is the manufacturing unit, and in such cases they should be shifted to the nearby hospitals at the earliest, because of which the ambulance should be provided at the factory premises. And it also says that in case the factory has more than 250 workers, then the canteen facility should be provided within the workspace, within the factory boundaries, so that not just providing the canteen facilities, they should ensure that the nutritious and quality food has been supplied in the canteens. Apart from this, the Factories Act also says that it is very important to provide shelters and restroom and lunch rooms for employees who are more than 150 in number. If the factory employs more than 150 workers, they have to ensure that they give them some shelter to rest, or restrooms and lunchrooms where they can actually sit and conveniently have their food. Apart from this, there is also this creche facility for the kids of the female employees at the workplace, wherein there will be a lot of ladies who will have to feed their children, and they cannot leave them way back home and come back to work. So for this kind of reasons, a daycare facility will be provided in and around the factory, so that the ladies can reach out to the children, feed them and get back to work. So this is also mandatory for all the factory owners to provide such facilities in case they are employing more than 30 female workers. And we also have another aspect where a welfare officer is going to be appointed in any factory which employs around 500 or more employees. Now let us understand who is this welfare officer and what is the role of this welfare officer. So this Factories Act of 1948, it is made mandatory for every factory which has minimum 500 workers. There should be a welfare officer who is appointed. The welfare officer here, tries to monitor and eliminate all the malpractices or any exploitations against the workers from the owners of the factory. They will ensure such things do not occur at workplace. They will also kind of improve the labor administration in the factory. Apart from that, they act as they do the role or take up the role of policing. That is, they come forward and kind of discuss about the workers' grievance to the management. And they are also the kind of take up the role of mediation. That is, they try to mediate and build harmony between the workers and the managers. So who is it who can actually be the can be the welfare officer? When we actually look into that, the qualities or the basic educational qualities that is required for a welfare officer is that he or she must have a university degree or a diploma in the field of social service or social work, and this degree should be obtained from a recognized college or university or institution. Apart from that, they should also have adequate knowledge on the local language of the area where the factory is been situated. So all of these requirements or the facilities or provisions are been provided for the welfare of the employees. And you must also know that this Factories Act of 1948, it has been amended over a period of time, and the Factories Amendment Act came into force from the December of 1987. So all of these acts, along with that, there are various other acts also. The Plantation Labor Act, it could be of 1951, or the Mines Act of 1951. There are various other acts which has been passed by the government for the welfare of the workers. So these are the kind of acts which will protect the welfare of the workers in any organization. I hope this helped you all to understand the concept of the Factories Act of 1948. Thank you, students.